Shambho Mahadev. So we said about in Gayatri Mantra, when they split about those words, Bhuhu, it is actually Bhuhu, and then when the conjunction of the letters come, it is Bhur. Ra is added to that actually. It is Bhuhu. Om Bhuhu. But Om Bhurva will come like that. So it is Bhuhu. Bhuhu means Prithvi. That's also the energy, prana we said. Bhuvaha we said, destroyer of sun. Bhuvaha is also water. We will be talking about it later. Bhuva. I am just going only from one view of it. The other view will go on from the other side. Here he says, we are going by these meanings. He says destroyer of sufferings, Bhuvaha. Bhuvaha is also where the jivas stay, where the jivas can sustain the jiva. There are different planets. In all the planets, the jiva is not there. It's only in the earth and some other planets where the jivas are available. That means water. So Bhuvaha is one meaning, is also water. Where the jivas have to sustain their jiva. So in order to sustain their sustenance is not only one. Here he said destroyer of sufferings also. When the sustenance in the jiva in the right manner, Bhuvaha. Bhuvaha is also all over, around the whole universe, the whole space. Bhuvaha, when one gains the intelligence of the one being as a survivor, as Jivatma, the one who doesn't have an identity of a Sharira and Mana, one who doesn't identify himself with certain position, name, fame, etc., the sufferings will not be there. Bhuvaha. As when one considers oneself as Bhuvaha, then there are no sufferings. So in Gayatri, it has been specifically incorporated so that in the vital energies where the earth is considered as the Bhu, where the Bhutas are there, and these Bhutas is the one which are constituting the physical body, and the Jiva's sustenance in this universe is through only when the Bhuhu is there, Prithvi is there. Why? Because the elements have to be there in the physical body, and these elements are existing when one is in the Bhu, in the Prithvi. That is why Prithvi is known as a Karma Bhumi. For execution of karmas only this Sharira is required, this shelter. This outer shell is necessary only for the purpose of that. So Bhuhu, Prithvi is there. The Prithvi is the major part of it. And having this Prithvi, which is consisting, Prithvi itself is consisting of all the five tattvas. All the water there, air there, prana there, everything there. So, when one is there in that Prithvi, and the Gayatri Mantra is meant for those who are in the Prithvi, because the three parts of Gayatri Mantra, one is the glory of it has been divided into three parts. One is the glorification of the Lord, glorification of the Supreme Power. Second is Dhyanam, and third is a prayer. So, when we have glorification of the Lord, the Jivatma glorifies the Lord, the Jivatma also does the Dhyanam. Who requires Dhyanam? Again, Jivatma requires the Dhyanam. Dhyanam is the Dhi Yanaha, Dhyanaha. Buddhi, the bodham, the consciousness has to be brought into synchronization with the Antaratma, the supreme consciousness, which is known as the consciousness. So synchronization of this, when this synchronization takes place, then the sufferings will go off. There are no sufferings. Suffering is a word which is attributed to here, even though we call it as suffering, bhuvaha. Suffering is a word attributed to only for the individuals, only for those shariras or for those manas or for jivatmas who are connecting themselves with the Jagrata Avastha. Only in the Jagrata Avastha we have got sufferings. Neither in the Swapna Avastha nor Swapna Avastha, it reduces the sufferings. I won't call it will not be there, but it will be reducing to a greater extent. Say 90% reduces in the Swapna Avastha. And in the Sushupta Avastha, there is no suffering at all. So who has got the sufferings? Only people who have got the consciousness. That is the consciousness means the waking state. The Jagrata Avastha, waking state. Well, the waking state here is not an awakened state. Then please do not misunderstand these two words. Where many people have a misunderstanding of awakened stage and waking stage. And it is in English these problems come. Jagrata Avastha. Jagrata Avastha of the Sharira and Mana. Jagrata Avastha. You are aware of the Jagrata Avastha means that you are conscious of the Sharira, you are conscious of the Mana. They are connected with the external part of the system. In the sense, it is not the Atma, it is an external body, it is an external environment, it's an external addition. That means external here is that, again when you go deeper into the subject, when at one point of time you will find there is nothing called external, as I also explained earlier. There is nothing called external and internal, everything is same. But for the purpose of studies, there has to be, they have divided into external and internal. The inner self is the consciousness. When you are dreaming, you can see you are within yourself. But when you are seeing, when you are in the waking state, when you are in the state of suffering, you are in the conscious state, that means you are in the state connected with the external world, external to your sharira, external to your mind. That you identify them as separate, like a mud pot is made and the water is accumulated inside that and outside that. The water inside that, we call it as the water inside the pot, and the water outside, or the air inside the pot or air outside the pot. Then he went into Bodha Avastha, that's called Bodha, that's why he's known as Buddha, conscious state. He identifies himself as conscious. What is the truth? When others were pointing out and telling him that, oh, this man is suffering, he is not eating, he has no food to eat, he is suffering. But internally he was absolutely enjoying. He was in a status of the, Brahmananda status. So he told them that, look, absolutely no, you, according to you, I am suffering. Whereas for me, as far as I am concerned, there is nothing called suffering. Why? Because I am in the state of consciousness, state of jnanam. For a person who is in the state of jnanam, there is nothing called suffering. Suffering is only connected with very, very superficial things, where the emotions are there, where the negativities are there. Only when those, these are the negativity, positivity, suffering, kashta, dukkha, everything happens only to those waking state. That is the Jagrata Avastha, where the Indriyas are connected with the objective experiences. Mana is connected with objective experiences. They are all fictions, they are all illusions. You see, the moment you sleep, all these things vanish. they are nothing, they have no truth in it. Absolutely there are no truth. Everything is vanished. All your affection, all your love, all your bhakti, all your emotions, everything is lost when you are sleeping. Where is it gone? They are all very superficial, externally implemented on the mind, that's all. But this is necessary. Why? Because it has become necessary. Why? Because it has been given like this, or this experiencing is being done in the Jivatma, is because he has to learn the renunciation process. Because it's a great experience. Only for a person who has got all this, he only needs the renunciation. For a god, for a devata, renunciation is not necessary. For one who gunatita, the one who is gunatita, for him renunciation is not necessary. So he doesn't have to undergo the experience of it. But as far as the jiva is concerned, the jivatma is concerned, who is connected with the prakriti and who is connected with the bhutas, for him to experience the Parabrahman, for him to attain the knowledge, the attainment of Parabrahman is attainment of the knowledge. Attainment of knowledge in the sense, through the practical experimental experience, he attains the absolute jnanam. When he absolute jnanam, he comes out of the illusions and hallucinations of the living here in the bhutas. This is the purpose of giving the mind. So one has to come out of it, not that one gets entangled in it. So this experiencing, this is called subjective experiencing. Through the subjective experiencing, through the learning of Upanishads and Vedas, through the Diksha, through the Tapasya, what happens? The sugar get diluted in the water. Yes? The sweet got diluted in the water. Water remained. Water has not. What happened? Sugar, the sweet, lost its shape and form and did the layam into the water. Water remained. The sweet has lost. The sweet is lost. Is it not? This is called layam. What is that? One is upasak, another is upasana. He became sugar sitting there. I'm just explain an example. Don't tell me that, oh, the water has become sweet. I think you should, that much one should understand. So what happens? Dilution, the process of dilution I am talking about. That means the one who is losing the identity I am talking about. I am talking about the renunciation. I am losing my kartutva bodha, losing my shape and form. So initially what happened? I wanted to possess the God. I wanted to possess the Upasana Murti in me. I want to become the Upasana Murti. I want to become the Upasana Murti is why I am doing the Upasana. In the process, I is lost. So Upasana Murti remains. When that happened, the desire is no more there, suffering is no more there. Till then only suffering. I have to become Upasana Murti, I have to become Upasana Murti, there is a suffering. When he has become, he is no more there and the Upasana Murti remained, there is no more suffering. So long the sugar is separate and water is separate, sugar always thought that I must possess the water in me. So that the water will become sweet. See? He wanted the water to have the quality of the sugar, wanted to become the water to be sweet, but water without any problem remained as it is, without any changes. Water did not have any change. What happened? Whoever came to the water, it gets dissolved in the water. So the sugar lost its shape and form. What happened? Kartutva bodha is gone and the upasana is complete. Only upasana murti remains. Upasak is no more there. Is called the truth of brahmacharyatvam. Identification of the Brahman is called the truth of living. In the process of living, this desire of possessing will not be there. The one who is a brahmachari, He doesn't have a desire of experimenting or experiencing any of those materialistic way of living. Any of those things which are attracted by the Indriyas. Vaishambhayana has told the disciples, including Yajnavalkya, great Maharshi, including Yajnavalkya, he has taught them that to be living in the Brahmacharyatam. Always associated where you are not separate from the Brahman. So, everything is going like the sugar going to the water and getting diluted. Everything that goes to the Brahman gets diluted in the Brahman, but whereas Brahman doesn't possess anything. Or Brahman cannot be possessed by anyone. Neither it can be possessed nor it possesses. Brahman is not possessing anything. The moment you go there, you get diluted. That's all. Water is not diluting the sugar. Sugar went in there, water has got its own prakriti, the sugar gets diluted. Do we say that water diluted the sugar? No. Sugar got diluted, we say. Is it not? Dilute the sugar in the water, we say. We don't say that pour water in the sugar and dilute it. No. We always say put sugar in the water. We don't say put water in the sugar. Why? Because water has got its own quality. It doesn't dilute it. It has no intention of diluting the sugar. But sugar has got an intention to make the water sweet. So in order to make the water sweet, sugar has to lose its own shape and form. So lose the identity. So Upasana Murti doesn't have any purpose. But Upasak has got a purpose. So Upasak has got to dilute it into Upasana Murti. Should be there. This is called the living. When one lives like this, then there is no suffering. So Sita, in the process of living, what happened? Even though she's tapasvi, as an example, the Ramayana teaching us that as a tapasvi, even though she has been in the tapasya status, for a moment in the Jagrata Avastha, when she came into the Jagrata Avastha and saw the animal with the golden animal, even though for the intelligence, for the dhihi, for the buddhi, for the bodham, for the consciousness, it is absolutely clear it is not possible like this. But the Maya, illusion, possessive, that greed of the possession, greed to possess that, it's only greed. Nobody can possess anything. It's a greed to possess that has created all the problems. That's what is said. Which indicates to us that it is not that actually happened like that. It cannot. When, as I told you, when you really analyze the qualities of Bhagwan Ram, Lakshman, who are all them? They are all tapasvis, who has crossed the status of the tapasvi, reached the status of Deivatvam. How can they commit a mistake like this? Will be the question. So, we will not go into that. What we have to see the principle, that during the process of tapasya, during the process of renunciation, during the process of tapasya, such inclination of unusual things in the Maya can happen. Such unusual illusions and attractions can take place. That will create only problems because that is not the real. So in our life, so I said that about the reality, that's what I said. That's not real and this is real. In the Jagrata Avastha, we call it as real, which is not real. Is what I am trying to tell you. We said what? No, reality. Let me come over. When you are sleeping, it's not reality. When we wake up, we say that is called reality. The reality is only connected with the Jagrata Avastha. Reality, what we are talking, is only connected with the attractions and attachments. Yes. The reality is connected only with the consciousness that experiencing the objects, experiencing the objects, finding enjoyments in the objects. Don't want to try subjective experiencing. He wants only to enjoy the objects, that which he thinks is separate from him and can be possessed. This illusion, this hallucination is called desire. What is called the desire? The desire is that thinking that the object is the truth and object is the one which will transform me And if I possess the object, I can transform myself. Is called that's how the desire has been possessing that. Because of so and so, if I do that, if I get attracted to that, this will happen is my imagination. Even for human beings. Yes. Because if I possess that person, or if I have my son, my daughter, my this, if I do this, this will happen. If he does it, this will happen. If he is like that, it will happen. They are all my calculations, imaginations. That's why we call it as calculations. It's all imaginations. I think if I do this, this will happen. Whether it will happen or not, I am not sure. It's my imagination. That's a hallucination, that's all. So based on that, I function. Whereas, no, there is no basis at all for my thought. That if I do this, this will happen. I have decided. What is the basis to that? Nothing. No basis. On what basis have you decided? My experience of the world. Your experience of the world. Your experience of the world is not the experience of the world. Your experience is that what you have learned from your parents or your society or your time, your kala, everything is there. Lots of things have taken place after that. The kala, samaya has changed. The persons have changed. The atmosphere has changed. The thinking process has changed. The education pattern has changed. The thought process has been changed. And each individual has got its own thought process that has changed. But you are stuck with whatever you are thinking. So you thought, then afterwards when it doesn't happen, what will happen? Somebody asks us, then what happens? What is our explanation? I thought if I do this, this will happen. So whatever dharma, according to me, I have done my dharma. Is our conclusion. Which is why we have to tell this? Why? Because we do not know how to live. That is a sin, and that sin brings sufferings, kashta and dukkha. Naturally, that's called the kashta dukkha. So neither that what we are desiring is right, nor based on that desire that we have done is right. That whatever done after doing that, whatever result has happened is also not right. So what happened? They are known as sufferings because everything is calculation, miscalculations, everything has gone wrong. Is called suffering. That's called suffering. So that gives us disappointments to the mind. To whom? To my ego. I thought it should have happened, but it has not happened. Is it necessary it has to happen? Because of that I am suffering. So who is suffering? My ego is suffering. Actually suffering is there. There is no suffering. Where is the suffering? In my ego there is suffering. When I got my ego, I have got suffering. When I don't have an ego, I don't have suffering. Is why the Veda says that Sakshi Bhavam. Everything is a witness. For a witness, whether that punishment is taken place or that not taken place, for him as far as he is concerned, he is nothing. Everything he is a Sakshi. That is happening? Yes, that is happening. Is it happening? No, it's not happening. Are you affected? No. Why should I be affected? Sakshi Bhava. Bhagavan said Sakshi Bhava. Kauravas and Pandavas fought. Bhagavan had no difference. Duryodhana died, Bhishma died. Bhagavan didn't cry. All others cried. Why? Sakshi Bhava. He knows nobody dies. Why the death? What is called the death? Everything is known to him. So he doesn't cry. All others cried. Arjuna cried because I have killed him. Ownership. Bhagavan laughing inside. This fool, he thinks he has killed him. And he thinks he has killed Bhishma. Is it not? Bhagavan is in front of him, he cries. Others cry. What he thinks? They are all fools. Beautiful fools. Nothing other than that. Because neither he has an attachment, nor he can kill. Neither he can kill, nor he can love, nor he can protect, nor he can do anything. Nothing can be done. They are all illusions. Living is that one being with the Parabrahman is called the true living. Why? Because the living is necessary. Now you may ask me why it is called living. Or I am asking myself. Then only we get questions. Contemplation. Living means who needs living, you tell me? Who has to live? In your body, in the part of you, who is supposed to live? Atma. Not Jivatma, Atma. Atma, what is it? Right. Atma is only one who has to live. Because all this is meant for Atma to live. Live means what? That which will not destroy. The living means what? Living means what? The one which will not destroy any time is called living. Okay. All other things will destroy. We know it. Sharira destroys, mana destroys, emotions destroy, attachment destroys, possessions destroy. Everything is temporary, nothing is permanent. Who is permanent? Permanent is only the Atma. So Atma is the one who is to live. So when we are to live, and we know that Atma is the one who has to live, whose requirement has to be seen? Atma's requirement, not for others. So any other things, whatever we do, we have to do only for the protection of the Atma. We have to do only for the purpose of the survival of the Atma, if we call it as a survival. Survival of the Atma. So Atma Sakshatkar has to be done. That which has to be. So how the living can be done for the Atma? Which way the Atma will be happy? When what you do will make your Atma happy, then when you make your Atma merge with the Paramatma, Atma will be happy. Am I right? When will the Atma be happy? What you do? Then when you make the Atma merge with the Paramatma, Atma will be happy is the answer. So your living has to be done for that. Am I right? It's called living. All other things are not living. So anything that you do has to be done only for the purpose of the Atma Sakshatkaram, in the sense Parabrahma Sakshatkaram, where the Parabrahman, the Atma has to be merged with the Paramatma. So anything that creates chati, anything that creates obstacle, anything creates that destruction, damages, or any destruction or any obstruction or obstacles for the Atma to merge with the Paramatma is a sin. Any obstacle is called dharmic way of living, dharma. Nothing else is called dharma. Dharma means not doing this, that, nothing. For that, what is necessary? Purification is necessary. Purification of what? Purification of the mind and the karmas are necessary. That's why I said Bhagavan was laughing when Arjuna was crying. Why? Because it's an illusion, ignorance that he is doing. He is only thinking that the physical body of Bhishma died and he is crying. Who has died? The physical body of Bhishma died. The physical body Bhishma acquired from the Panchabhutas is only meant for the Bhishma's Atma to be merging with the Paramatma. It is meant for that. So should we cry or should we laugh, smile, appreciate? We must celebrate. Bhishma merged with Parabrahman. One should be happy. So Arjuna was crying. Is it justified now? That's why Bhagavan laughed inside. What happened? He had his emotional attraction and attachment with him. He has a kartutva bodha. What? I have killed Bhishma. Kartutva bodha. I have loved Bhishma. I have loved Bhishma and I have killed Bhishma. Both kartutva bodha was there. Both has not happened. If you have loved, you could have protected the Atma of Bhishma. So that was again illusion only. What you call as a love is an illusion as far as that attachment is concerned. It was an attachment, an attraction, that's all. That's an illusion, that kartutva bodha and bhoktatva bodha. Since he has affection and attachment to Bhishma, he said, I cannot kill him. And having killed, he has got guilt on that. He has understood the jnanam. Even after having understood the jnanam from Bhagavan Krishna himself, he has seen Bhagavan in person as Vishwarupa. That's what Bhagavad Gita explains. Even after all that, then only the war started. And after that, Bhishma was killed in Sharajaya. Then Arjuna cried, you see what happened? Even then, tapasya was not complete. This is what it is. So what happened? Upasana was not complete. Upasana gets complete when the attachment and attraction to the Sharira, Mana, external, that realization, the absolute jnanam has to be created. It's why Vaishambhaya in this Upanishad, in Chandogya Upanishad, he specifically says to the brahmacharis, classifying each and every small things, crisscross, deciding, and the Yajnavalkya and other disciples having made understand the Brahmajnanam, Brahmatattvam, Brahma Sakshatkaram in the true sense and made them experience it. Having that got into that Brahmacharyatvam in them, the Parabrahman established in them, let me put it that way, the Parabrahman established in them, everything that they are doing gets diluted into that, where they do not get attracted or attached to anything that they are doing, because the kartutva bodha is not there. Any karmas they are executing, they are not executing as X, Y, Z, Yajnavalkya, this, no, not by name. Every execution of karma is done, they could orient it as Parabrahman doing the karma. So kartutva bodha was not there, bhoktatva bodha was not there, so sufferings were not there. So who was living? The Parabrahman in the brahmachari was living, not the brahmachari. Is why they could get that. Ultimately, even Yajnavalkya, when he did the tapasya, he must be knowing that the Puranas or the scriptures say that he had two wives. One is known as Katyayani, another is Maitreyi. So one was attracted to, Katyayani was attracted to the material wealth, tapo bhala, and because of that there was lot of wealth for him. She was attracted for. So when he was going into renunciation, he was going into the absolute dissolution to the Parabrahma, merging with the Parabrahman, he said, look, I have got these things, both of you take whatever you want. One can have all the material and things like that. So Katyayani decided to have all the material benefits that was derived out of his tapobala. There are so many things. He said, you give me that, you go. Maitreyi said, look, I will come with you because I do not want anything. I would like to share the tapobala of you, that's all. To be with you and enjoy that tapobala of yours in the aura of you. Is how he followed Yajnavalkya and went on. The classification here is that nothing, not that he might have had two wives or he might not have, that's a different thing. Classification is that even though there are things attached to the Parabrahman, the Yajnavalkya is a jnani who is a disciple of Vaishambhayana of Chandogya Upanishad, who was the one who is a great jnani who initially we have read about it when Yajnavalkya learned the whole thing, when the Vaishambhayana told Yajnavalkya to repeat the whole thing to the disciple who has not contemplated. He said that he vomited everything, he said what we said, but vomiting in the sense, then all the birds, because his vomiting has been done and their disciples have been described as birds, the birds came and ate the vomit, he said. The principle being Yajnavalkya projected. That means, what I am trying to tell you is that Yajnavalkya is such a jnani. having learned everything from Vaishambhayana, do you think that he would have 2 wives and the wealth and things like that? No, it is not that. No. Again, contemplation of that. Principle being a great jnani, tapasvi, the ones who are, the jivatmas who are attached with that tapasvi, the 2 wives are 2 attachments. For whom? Not for Yajnavalkya. For these 2, they got attracted to Yajnavalkya tapasvi, so wanted to have the, as I told you, the upasak having the upasana murti. During the process of upasana, one disciple felt to acquire the happiness of the material happiness of external sources, and one upasana murti wanted to have the merging, layam to the upasana murti, one upasak. So that is why 2 wives actually, not the individuals. One is a external enjoyment, another is the one who wants to merge with the where there is no kartrutva bodham and bhoktatva bodham, is why 2 dharma patnis they call it. That's why it is known as dharma patnis. Dharma patni is that the one who follows the dharmam of the pati. Is why dharma pati. The dharmam of the pati is my dharmam. There is no separate dharmam for me. Means what? That tapophala, that what you are getting, is the same tapa I am doing. There is no kartrutva bodha, there is no bhoktatva bodha. There is no discussion on that. Dharma. That's why it is the classification of dharma patni has come. Even though later the meaning of dharma patni is no more there. Yes. Now here what happened? One is that dharmam, another is adharmam. What is dharmam? Dharmam is that merging, like the sugar merging in the water, like the upasak merging with the upasana murti, where there is no possessive nature. Where the adharmam is what? Possession of the result of the upasana murti. So Katyayani wanted the results of the upasana murti. That means possess the upasana murti. Another want to have the layam of the into the upasana murti, is why they called it as 2 dharma patnis. So what happened? Bhuvaha is that. So suffering comes because of that. Because of the illusion. Kartrutva bodham and bhoktatva bodham. Where this illusion has to go. Very difficult. Entangled, we are chained, we are shackled with that. The mind is shackled with that. So tapasya is necessary. First of all, jnanam is necessary. Tapasya is necessary. And absolute determination is necessary to be an upasak. So the brahmacharis, what happened when they came out of the shishyatvam, from the, after learning everything, contemplation is complete, they lived as brahmacharis. That means the one who are serving the Brahman only is called a brahmachari. Nothing else is a brahmachari. Brahmachari is that the one who serves the Brahman. Who serving the Brahman means what? There are no 2. Serving the Brahman, the service, serving, or the what do you call it? Dasatvam, they call it. Dasa. Doing a service. Doing a service is not doing some, not in today's language like doing a servant's job. I mean, not that ajnakari. Do this, do that, do this, no. The one who does the service, that means brahmacharyatam. Brahman, the one who is a brahmachari, does the absolute service to the Brahman. In the sense what? Service in the sense that whatever he does, service is that. Whatever he does only for the Brahman. It's called service. That's why the term servant has come later. That whatever the owner says has to be done by that. Then only he becomes a servant. Otherwise, he's not a servant. He's not. A servant in the sense service, in the one who does the service without any remuneration is service. Expecting something is not servant. That means he is doing a kartrutva bodham. There, this one comes. I do this, you pay me this. It's not a servant actually. We cannot call them as a servant. Even though The term is servant, but according to principle, it is not servant. The one who serves is a servant. The one who does the service, what is the service? As dhanam, he doesn't receive anything. He only gives. It's called service. So brahmachari does a service to Brahman only. That means whatever he does is only done by the Brahman. How does he do the service? Whatever Brahman says, that only he does is a service. Is why Shishya, Shesha. Now the term Shishya came also like that. Shesha. That whatever has been told, that whatever is remainant, Shesha is remainance. That whatever is remainant is a Shesha. He is not separate from the Guru. When it is separate from the Guru, he is not a Shishya. Shishya has to be that what Guru says. That's called Shishya. Same way, Brahmachari is that the one who serves Brahman is only Brahmachari. So when such a Brahmachari executing the life is called living. As I told you, living is meant for the Atma. So if that living is done, is called a living. And when you live like that, you are living the life. What is the life? You are living the life. The life is meant for living, and when you do live like this, you are living the life. When you have lived the life, there is no more life. You have lived the life. Means what? It's a past tense. When you have lived the life, there is no more life. Where it is gone? The life is gone into in the life form, or from where the life has come. It's called the merging with the Parabrahma. The purpose of living is, the meaning of living is this, and the purpose of living is this, is a beautiful explanation given by the Chandogya. Or the truth is that, is called let me put it that way, is why that's why he sent in here, what destroyer of suffering. Who else can destroy the sufferings in this world? How can you destroy the sufferings in the world with the way the living is going on? Is it possible? No. Everything is a suffering. A thought is a suffering which is not liked by us. A thought comes which is not liked by us, it's a suffering. Some thoughts will linger for suffering, some thoughts will not. And when you look at it, illusion, hallucination. Oh, I thought and I was unnecessarily weak. These are all very common, sophisticated party talks. Proud of it talking. One feels proud of it. What happened? I thought this and I had been doing it, and ultimately I found out it was not necessary at all. You see, this is it. And he is proud of it, talking about that. He is indirectly calling himself as a fool. He is calling himself as a ignorant. He is calling himself as the one who is not following the principles of the Jiva Tattva, of the Brahma Acharyam, and he is proud of it. Oh, I thought that fellow is good and I did all this. It was all a waste. He is proud of it, because he thought he is good. So he is proud of it. How he has thought he is good? Because of his ignorance. Who told him to think that he is good? That nobody asks, no? Because why he has thought he is good? Because of his ignorance. And what is good? Then it suited him, so he thought it is good. Now it doesn't suit him, so he says he is not good now. When he thought he was good. Now when he is thinking he is not good. Suits him at that point of time. So both the time ignorance. Two sufferings. Thinking of good is suffering. Thinking of not good is also suffering for him. Both are sufferings. Repentance, guilt all happens only because of the same way. That is what is it. Sita getting attracted to the Swarna Mriga, a golden animal, it is that what happens in our life. If that happens, it is not called a living. So what happened? Because of that attraction, because of that hallucination and illusion and possessive nature, what happened? Sufferings have come. Ravan came in. Right? Apaharana has taken place. Sita Apaharanam took place. Ravan here representing a negative force. Even though Tapasvi, having got the attraction towards the illusion and hallucination towards the Prakriti, the Tapasvi has been abducted by a negative force. This can happen in life. It's the principle of that attraction, attachment. So what happened? The Tapobala is lost. The Tapasya is lost. Constant attempt. That means where absolute brahmacharyatvam was necessary is that what is being explained. Lakshman Rekha is also as explaining that, you see, Lakshmana being a Tapasvi has told the Tapasvi not to cross the limits of desire. It's called Lakshman Rekha. Not to cross the limits of desire. Not that you don't come out of this. What do you mean by don't come out of this? That don't have the desire to it. That also, because of attraction and attachment and ignorance and hallucination and illusion, Sita crossed the line. Is called one crosses the Lakshman Rekha, one sown Lakshman Rekha, that doing the adharmam is called that. So these are all examples. This is symbolically, has been represented. That's all. So one has to learn all these things. So during the process of tapasya, this should not happen. An upasana murti, an upasak should not feel suddenly, oh, I have possessed the upasana murti because I could gain this. No. Till the time you are lost, you are still an upasak. The upasak should be not get diverted into attractions and attachment. Why? Because whenever the Atma is trying to live in the right manner, especially in the experimental world and the Mayaik world, in the Prakriti, in the Maya, lot of attractions and attachment will be there. That's called the Maya, Prakriti. Because in Prakriti it is necessary. Then only the strength of the mind can be understood. If there are no attractions, if there is no attachment, if there is no material in the world, if there is nothing in this world, closing yourself into a guha and don't see anything, blind yourself, break your both the eyes and both the ears, then easier to do tapasya, is it not? What will you renounce? What will you experience? How will you purify yourself? How will you assess your own strength? Having it in front of you, not getting attracted and attached to it is called the true vairagya and renunciation. That is why all this has been given. For the mind, an illusionary mind, to get detached strength, to gain the strength. When the mind gains the strength from that which is available in front of it and finding it is no more necessary for me. It is there for something else. It's not meant for me. When the mind realizes this, he gets attached to the Parabrahman automatically. When he gets attached to Parabrahman automatically, he gains that knowledge, jnanam. When he gains that jnanam, he looks at the world totally different. And he feels the owner of everything. This is what happens. No? One becomes all-pervasive. He spreads all over the world, universe. So he need not to possess anything. Why we possess things? Because we think we are individual, identity and separate, and we would like to gain all the happiness from the material. And suppose I leave it, somebody will take it and enjoy it, so I won't get it in time when I need it. So let me preserve it, is why the possession takes place. It is like possessing, because tomorrow Next month the petrol price will increase, so let me fill up the tank and keep the car inside the house in the garage. I won't drive because petrol will be spent. And next month price will increase, so I have to fill up the petrol. You see? So I save so much of money. So I filled the petrol, brought it back. Now I don't want to drive because I have to save the petrol. Some more time. So I kept the car. After 2 months I took the car out. There was not even a drop of petrol in that because all evaporated because of this temperature is very high outside. This is what is called possession. Am I right? This is possession. That what is from the nature will go to the nature. You cannot possess it and keep it. It will get evaporated, whether it is money, whether it is attraction, whether it is attachment, whether it is your sharira, whether it is your youth, whether it is your beauty, whether it is your this, whether it is that. Everything will get back from where you got it. Nothing can be, you cannot hold it. You cannot put gel behind, what is it? Gel behind the skin, and after some time the gel dries. Know what to do? Put more gel. Grease. It's called greasing the face. Suffering. Possession brings suffering, possessiveness. Samarpana bhava to my Lord. Samarpana bhava to the Parabrahman. Samarpana to the Parabrahman. Be layam. And be ready to get the layam. Be ready to be layam. And layam can take place only when the purity is there. Purification is there. Brahman is pure. And anything that is pure only can merge with the purity. Because that pure, the truth is pure. And in order to merge with the truth, the purity is necessary. Bhuva. Swaha, embodiment of happiness. Swaha. Swayam, then only you can call it as Swayam, happiness. Embodiment of happiness, he says, embodiment of happiness. What is embodiment of happiness? Happiness only can come when you do not have any possession with you. When you have renounced everything, then you are happy. Like last Upanishad Ganga shows. When you have nothing, you sleep. I always tell this. Na? Hindi में that proverb very much I like very much. घोड़े बेच के सोना. Whatever ghoda I had, sell it out. Ghodas are always disturbing, galloping always. No? Desires. Desires, attraction and attachments are all ghodas only. Sell them. Give them free. Then sleep will be perfect. That means renunciation. See, when the possession is not there, घोड़े बेच के सोने का मतलब क्या है? When the possession is no more there, you are happy. Embodiment of Swaha, I alone. Who is that I alone? I alone is that Parabrahman alone. The whole universe is all pervading, that Brahman. All pervading, omnipresent, omnipotent, all pervading Brahman. Sarva Vishwa Khyati. Sarva Vishwa. What is it?
Yeah.
Vishwarupa. That Vishwarupa. What is that Vishwarupa? Who is the Vishwarupa? That Atma. When it becomes Parabrahman, it is Vishwarupa. Because there is no Rupa. There is no limitations. When there is limitation, then only we can call it as Rupa. When there is no limitation, it is Vishwarupa. No Rupa for that. Air doesn't have Rupa. Evaporated vapor doesn't have Rupa. Things, no Rupa. Why? Because there is no limitation to that. When it is limited into something, then only that shape and form. Water also doesn't have any Rupa. But when I take it in a particular container, it has got the container's shape. So that's not the shape of the water. The container's shape is that. So same way, that which doesn't have any Rupa, that's called the Nirguna Upasana. So through the Saguna Upasana, I attain the Nirguna Upasana, then only that Swaha. Om Bhur Swaha. Happiness then comes. So you understood what does it mean? This is Swaha ultimate. That's why Gayatri has been connected with the Sharira. Gayatri has been connected with the Guru, connected with the God, connected with the Prakriti, connected with the principle, Tattvam, importance is why the mantra, this has to be understood. It's not just chanting. Chanting creates vibrations, no doubt about it. That creates a lot of improvement in the physical body. That's a limited part of it. That's not one should do that. This has to be understood. Then we will go to the rest of it, and then we go to Chandogya Upanishad's explanation of the differences in the what is called Vakya. That's how we started. Vani, Vakya, Vacha is Gayatri. And how he explains it, that we'll see later. We'll continue with it. Shambho Mahadeva.